What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Pat Cave. Got a new video for you today. This one's going to be about a very mysterious restaurant called Juggles from the 90s. And it's a little bit strange, a little bit different, and that's the whole concept of the restaurant actually. So I thought it was kind of fitting for the channel. So we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about it today. So go ahead and stick around and we're going to check it out right after this. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Pat Cave. I've got a special video for you today. This is about a restaurant from the 90s called Juggles.
You're wild.
What?
You're wild!
And this is kind of an interesting topic, but I mean, a lot of people probably remember when you were kids going to places and doing things that you kind of, as the years go by, you kind of slowly start to, like, the memories get a little bit hazy. And then another few years goes by and you forget another detail, and then soon enough you've forgotten the majority, or you're not sure if you imagined it or what the deal was. This is kind of a similar case. I grew up down in Canyon Country, Santa Clarita, around 1997, according to what I've found online. There was a restaurant, it was called Juggles. A friend and I were chatting one day about this place, and she kind of had been mentioned. I don't remember when the conversation originally came up. She might remember, but she talked about all these little details about this place that I had no recollection of. And I think, according to the internet, a lot of people didn't even know if it was a real place or if they were just kind of taking a bunch of different concepts from different places and combining them together. After looking for a while, it turns out the restaurant was actually called Juggles, and it was in Valencia, over by a chorus line. There was a place called the Chorus Line, and next to the Mann Theater. I remember going to see Jurassic Park at the Mann Theater and some other movies. I want to say Halloween Resurrection, a couple of different things. Juggles was supposed to be kind of an experience in a way, not just a regular restaurant, right? There was a lot of weird stuff going on, and the decorations were crazy. And I have scoured the internet trying to find anything I could. I even talked to the Library of Congress to try and find some photos of this place that were, there was an article, a librarian from Santa Clarita ended up being able to to re-upload or refresh it or whatever, and she was able to pull it up, and there was actually 3 pictures that were in that original newspaper article. For whatever reason, the photos they don't show anymore, so I tried to talk to the Library of Congress, and the library in Santa Clarita told me they might be able to dig those photos out because they kept them on microfilm, like this is national treasure or something.
It will be mine. Oh yes, it will be mine.
They said they looked and they couldn't find anything, so there's really just one photo that I've ever seen that this place even existed at all. And like I said, this was in 1997, and I was able to contact the owners, one of the owners, kind of. It didn't sound like they have any interest in delving back into that whole experience, because I thought it was pretty fascinating. Rather than just having me describe it to you, because I don't even recall ever going there, but I know that a lot of people did. And it sounded crazy in a good way, in all the best ways. And I think nowadays a place like that would do really well, merely for the fact of social, that there's social media and there's so much more avenues that they could have used to get promote that place. And from what I believe, I think a lot of places like that end up doing really well just because they're very unique and they're not just these corporate chains like Chili's. No offense, Chili's, I love that place, but this is something a little bit different. So I have a collection of articles that I found online, and some of these people online sent me links to or helped me find. So if you were one of those people, thank you for giving me a hand with that. I'm still holding out hope that somebody out there, maybe if they see this video, they have some photos or, God forbid, a video, which is, the ultimate goal is maybe a video walkthrough of this place. I feel like there must have been some footage of it back when they opened it from the grand opening, or maybe like, I'm sure the quality probably wouldn't be great, maybe kind of grainy, maybe kind of dark, probably a lot like in here, but let me go ahead and read you a little bit about what this place was like, and then instead of just having me describe it, I think it'd be better to... So I'll go ahead and start with one of the articles here. And this is actually the only one that I found that had an actual photo. And this picture, I'll go ahead and put it across the screen here so you can see it. So it says, Restaurant of the Week. This was from a newspaper back in the day. It says, Juggles is the world's first interactive funny themed restaurant, and it's coming to Santa Clarita. Juggles features a unique blend of laughter, illusion, and magic. When you enter Juggles, the fun begins. It's loaded with talking, moving, and animated monsters and other great exhibits. There is Benny Dungman, the animated joke teller who greets you at the door, or maybe you would like to take a walk over the glass-covered pit and see Laurel and Hardy operate on Frankenstein. Yikes. There's also a very cool Terminator exhibit. Wait until you experience the tables. They are great. I know you are going to be having so much fun at Juggles with all the neat stuff going on, but please don't forget to eat. Juggles has the best Italian and American food, finger food, old-fashioned pizza, soups, salads, and so much more. Plus, you can wet your whistle at the full-service bar at Juggles. Juggles is one of the most unique restaurants in the entire world. And so where is this place? It's located at 23300 Cinema Drive, just across from the Mann Theaters. And you can see in this photo here, like I said, this is the only picture I have of the inside of the restaurant aside from, there's another photo here that was from a different article, and that has the Terminator, so I'll show you that too. And this picture, you can see it has a bartender who is in fact a horse, and then it looks like there's some kind of a dog or something, a cartoon dog, sitting on top of a barrel, and there was another type of cartoon animal down here below. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of the stuff people said that they saw at the restaurant, also certain things that stood out to them that they remembered. I've tried to kind of gather as much as I could from it. I don't know why. It's just fascinating to me, this whole thing. It just sounds so bizarre. Like I said, it's almost like a fever dream. And there's no photo evidence of it, really no videos, except for these very few articles that I was able to find with help from some people. You've got this next one I found. This was also another article. This was on newspapers.com, and I'll go ahead and put that up on the screen so you can see it. And it's sort of just talking about like a little promotion thing. Now open, laughter, illusion, magic, talking, moving, and animated monsters. It's got all their specials on here. Juggles famous dragon wings. I never, like I said, I don't know if I ever went there. My friend from childhood, she said that she had her birthday party there, but I feel like I would have remembered going. Like I would have remembered something about it. I don't. I know that she mentioned that there was an alien under one of the tables. And I think that she was talking about the dining tables at the booths and things. I think that they all had some kind of weird thing going on under each of them. Some of them had jokes printed on them and stuff like that. Another one, I think she said it was like an alien autopsy under one of the tables. And I think I remembered something about that in a different article, or maybe someone discussing it online. And there was a post on the Santa Clarita group chat on Facebook. And there's snap appetizers, there's like little mummies, Frankenstein's dog, which is a corn dog, mummy spears, and the Hawaiian 5-0. All sorts of just kind of fun little things. I found this. This was the grand opening party. And that says Saturday, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., Juggles Restaurant. Win prizes and have tons of fun. And this doesn't have a date on it. And I remember trying to get the newspaper's date, and I think it was right at the end of October. I think we're close to Halloween, I want to say. This was another article I found. Like I said, I'll go ahead and post that on the screen. I'll read it to you, though, so if you guys wanted to see what it said without having to read it yourselves. This has a great picture of what I'm assuming is the Terminator. When they said Terminator, like a life-size Terminator, I assumed it was probably like one of the endoskeletons, the toys from back in the day, like that you would get from Sideshow or one of those companies. But maybe back then, this might have been before they even started selling stuff like that. This has a Terminator with some kind of platter. In the background, I don't really know where this room is, and there's no color, unfortunately. But this says, Eatery seeks fresh infusion of capital, juggling to keep the business afloat. It says, Juggles, the themed restaurant in the Cinema Park complex, combine lunch and dinner with hundreds of outlandish visual effects and a comedy-laced interactive atmosphere. Has temporarily closed while the owners look for investors. The restaurant opened last fall, but has been a costly venture from the start. Partners Tom Trachillis and Lou Alfano say they need a capital infusion of about $100,000 to reopen and keep going. Juggles has been closed for about 2 weeks. And Tom was one of the guys that I was trying to get a hold of to maybe see, this might sound crazy to some people, but I thought about writing like a short little book about this whole place just because it's so fascinating to me that we had these types of businesses where people just really had these great ideas. At least it sounded great to me, and I'm sure a lot of other people if you're watching this, but they just, sunk so much money into it, and then for whatever reason it didn't work out. Maybe there's that period where I think I'm not a business professional by any means, but I think there's that period of time in which profit's going to slowly increase over time, and I think what happened was they spent so much money getting this place off the ground that it never had a chance to make a profit before it closed, which is really unfortunate. Tom, if you happen to see this, I would love to talk about this place. If you have any further video footage or pictures, I can make a part 2 and hopefully shed some light on the behind the scenes of what was going on here. It says Juggles is a restaurant that carries the theme concept to virtually its maximum level. Virtually every inch is covered with some sort of gag, from the head of a bull protruding from one wall that barks and mews, to an animatronic man who tells jokes at the press of a button, to the image of a man who appears in the mirror of the women's restroom. I'll get into that later. That sounds really wild. Every table has dozens of humorous newspaper clippings set under the glass tops. Each table has a telephone. That was another thing that sounds nuts. I don't know how that would work nowadays, but it sounds pretty hilarious. Like, you could call, and my friend told me this too, she was the one that kind of originally mentioned this, that there was a phone on the table of each table at this restaurant, and you could call the other tables. And I don't know how often people use them, but it sounds pretty hilarious to me. It is a unique idea for a restaurant, but for Trachillis and Alfano, an expensive one. The pair sank about $1 million to build Juggles from the ground up. Much of the problem was a familiar one for the restaurateurs, a matter of location. The major reason we had to close is that we were undercapitalized, Trachillis said. We came in and we didn't realize we had to have so much money, especially in this area on a side street. But a restaurant business takes time. So I guess kind of like what I was saying, even though I don't know what I'm talking about necessarily with business, but that was my guess. Cinema Park is the glass accented complex on Cinema Drive near the corner of Bouquet Canyon Road that was built last year by a partnership led by Rena Newhall. Despite the growth of that corner of Valencia, which includes the Valencia Entertainment Center up the street, it is still not one of the Santa Clarita Valley's more heavily traveled thoroughfares. Our biggest problem is that this is a new development. Alfano said, "You're nursing a baby." The partner's background would seem to mesh perfectly for an eatery like Juggles. Alfano is the restaurant man from a family that has run a respected Italian restaurant in Culver City for almost a half century. Trachillis is a former television producer who made programs for the Playboy Channel for some 2 decades. With his showmanship skills, he was able to contribute the attractions that are geared to set Juggles apart. In fact, many of the moving talking monsters and other visual effects came from a collection he built over the years. I think that's one thing that jumps out to me the most, is that this place sounds like almost like a Spirit Halloween in a restaurant. It just sounds crazy. Like, you've got all sorts of mechanical things, lots of sounds, lots of patterns, things moving around, talking to you. You can talk to the other people at the tables, like I said. And I think one thing that a lot of people recall, maybe even the most about this place, is that when you walked in the entrance, the floor was glass. And below that, there was a big pit, and I've heard it's pretty large. I haven't been able to find a picture of it. I'm still trying. And it had Frankenstein down there being worked on in like a laboratory. And that was down below this glass floor. And I was like, that sounds fucking awesome. But, we still haven't seen any photos. Hopefully someone out there has something or finds a picture. So next, other places are plastic and boring, but they're on a main drag, Trachillis said. People go to the restaurant and the mall because they're already at the mall. Going here means going to a destination. Trachillis Trachillis said they have picked up a steady following and were close to the break-even point for a couple of months. The pair was looking to add the
Today, Junior?
the SCV's only comedy club, including name entertainment on the weekends. If given a chance, he said, Juggles could pull in $2 million a year or more. This was, like I said, in 1997, 98-ish, around there. But other problems have cropped up. A plumbing problem caused a serious flood and forced them to delay the opening for 2 months. And there were also some problems in securing a liquor license, which I've heard is a common thing with restaurants. Newhall, who owns a Chorus Line, the costume and dance store in Cinema Park, said she regularly had lunch there and has only positive things to say about the food. She said she has received some inquiries from some prominent chains in the San Fernando Valley about the availability of the site. And she said, I hope they stay. They had loads of people coming in. The food was good. It was healthy and wholesome. And it is an idea that can live on with help from a new investor or investors. We should have gone out in the beginning and gotten investment capital. Trachilla said we wanted to do it all ourselves. In retrospect, we were a bit naive in that area. So that was it for that article. And this other one here, this was kind of a similar thing. This was another one I printed out. Hopefully that's somewhat clear. This says, Juggles owners still hope to find enough cash to reopen restaurant. The future of Juggles, the intensely visual restaurant on Cinema Drive that closed about 6 weeks ago, remains in question after its owners search for fresh capital. Said they need about $100,000 to reopen Juggles, and Trachilla said Tuesday he and Alfano were still looking. We've had some interest, but it's depressing to see this happen. We're not giving up, though. And like I said, part of my goal here would be to, it's interesting to me, this whole thing. Obviously, I'm the only one making a video about it. So, but for me, I'm sure a lot of people that remember this place, that grew up there, it's almost like a dream, like the most strange, bizarre restaurant you could ever think of.
You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
And very few people remember it, and very few people got to go there because it was only open, I've heard, for like maybe 6 months to a year, if that. And I would love to chat with Tom about it and figure out what it is that went on behind the scenes there, or what went wrong, really. It sounds like it just was a series of unfortunate events. Found this was Juggles Restaurant, now hiring for all positions, and that was really it. So I'll go ahead and talk about some of the other things about this place that people, had commented or told me, memories about certain things about the design or the layout. They were kind of really interesting little bits of information. So I don't remember where this came from, but it says 80s retro with some magic elements thrown in, like a chimp dressed in a cloak and a top hat, and a Jambi from Pee-wee's Playhouse, which Jambi, when I looked it up, because I didn't remember watching that show that often when I was little, he was I think his face was blue or green, and it was like a head that was inside of like a television set, but he looked kind of like a fortune teller or something like that. There's an alien in the table. There's supposed to be like an alien autopsy, which I kind of mentioned that earlier. That sounds pretty neat, though, I think. There was Frankenstein under the floor. That said there was a Cyclops near the bathroom door that topped. And someone remembered that the ceiling was painted like a sky, and then there was clouds that were made out of popcorn. So popcorn clouds. And I was like, this sounds pretty freaking cool. And this was like a for sale ad that was online. It says, interactive, funny themed restaurant, 4,600 square feet, plus large outdoor patio, 9-month-old restaurant located in Valencia, California. One-of-a-kind restaurant. It says there's holograms, trick mirrors, funny signs, lots of crazy creatures. The animal bar has a talking horse bartender, as well as a Cyclops, which is the horse is the one thing we have seen a picture of. There's the creature from the Black Lagoon, which I had heard of that too, but I've never seen a picture of that either. But there was supposed to be one in that newspaper, because it says the captions, even though the photos don't show up. It says there's a creature from the Black Lagoon, a bull, and a Tyrannosaurus Rex that appears to be crashing through a wall. I don't know if anyone remembers that. And then there's a stage show that features magicians and jugglers. And my friend from down south, she told me that she remembered that they did magic on the stage. And that was one thing I kind of remembered. But there was another place called Hocus Pocus Pizza and Magic. That place did magic also. So I'm not sure if thinking of that place or this one, but I remember she said there was a guillotine, or guillotine, however you pronounce that, and they would ask for a volunteer to go up on the stage. I don't know, like I said though, I don't know if that was Juggles or Hocus Pocus. It said there's an animated joke teller that entertains customers while they wait for their table. That must be the Benny Dungman character, and I'm not sure exactly what the story is with that, if it was just like an existing animatronic or something they custom made. It sounds like maybe it was a modified thing, because I've looked it up and I couldn't really find anything similar to that. But they did have Zoltar and all those fortune telling machines back in the day where you could put change in and push a button and it would talk to you. But I don't remember one telling jokes. Although there was one I remember called Zambini that was a fortune teller, and I saw that one at a Chinese restaurant one time, and he put a change in and he did have kind of funny jokes. Like, I remember he said, one of his fortunes said people in glass houses, and then it was like ... should wear clothes. And I was like, okay. So I guess that gives the same vibe. It says, for more jokes, read the tabletops or play with the trick mustard and ketchup containers. If that's not enough, the salt and pepper shakers will talk to you. Lonely or inquisitive customers can get to know each other with the telephones on the table, which I talked about. Even the floor reveals special humor when customers walk over a large glass enclosed pit. You can find Laurel and Hardy working on Frankenstein, and don't forget to say hello to a life-size Terminator that lights up and talks while you roam the restaurant. Someone said there was a magic shop in here too, that part of this place was a magic shop, which makes sense because it's supposed to be like a part magic thing. Someone said that there was a two-way mirror and a peeping Tom in the bathroom. I think that's what they were talking about with the guy appearing in the mirror. Thursday and Saturday, Juggles comes to juggle chainsaws. So I think Juggles was the clown, and he would come and do that. There was a couple other small details I remembered. There was, someone had talked about a cyclops in the bathroom, and that there was like a jail cell type door that was in between the men's and the women's restrooms, I want to say. And that sometimes it would kind of shake, and I think a cyclops would appear like over the top, and you could see that, which that sounds nuts to me for a restroom. It sounds really funny though. And then there was also a monkey that was on a unicycle, and it would ride like a wire across the ceiling of the restaurant, and there was a train that would go around the top in circles. That was as much information as I've been able to find about this place. If anybody out there has any videos or pictures or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to me, and then I'll make a part 2, maybe with my updates about this place. I know there's a lot of people that have fond memories here, and I'm sure there must have been people that recorded birthday parties or pictures from birthday parties, something. I have a friend, like I said, who I grew up with, and I have a sneaking suspicion he's got pictures of this place somewhere. It's just trying to get him to dig through those, because I know they have well-documented birthday parties and things like that. I hope you guys enjoyed this little dive into Santa Clarita's history with this strange restaurant nobody seems to have any evidence of ever existed. But if I end up hearing anything else or getting any more information, I'll go ahead and make a part 2 of this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope you guys all had a great holiday.